It's Tuesday. That means another top 10 video. So this time, if you've been following my very clever going through in alphabetical order, it's the top 10 magic items for sorcerers. So if you want to see what I think those items are, and you can obviously tell me how much you disagree in the comments below, stay tuned. So let's get a couple of things out of the way up front. We always do this, but we are not going to be talking about any legendary magic items or any artifacts in this video. We are also not going to be talking about anything consumable like scrolls or potions. And we're not going to be talking about any of the tomes specifically, because the tomes or the iron stones that boost a ability score typically are useful for anyone, right? You could, even if you're not a sorcerer, you could benefit from the +2 dexterity, +2 constitution tomes. So those items that raise an ability score by 2 and raise the maximum by 2, those have been omitted from this list. And other than that, everything else is fair game. So let's jump into the video. Number 10. Number 10 is Elven Chain. It's number 10 on this list because it only works if you're going to not be using armor or mage armor. But I do think more often than not always, as a sorcerer, you're probably going to focus primarily on charisma and probably on constitution, and dexterity maybe being a close third on your list of ability scores. So if you're using mage armor, you're going to get 13 plus your dex modifier added as for your armor class. This is a +1 suit of, it's a chain shirt that is +1 AC, so it's going to have that, and it's going to add a minimum of +2 of your dexterity modifier to it as a regular chain shirt would. And this is going to give you proficiency with the armor, even if you lack proficiency with medium armor. So you don't have to have armor proficiency, which as a sorcerer you wouldn't. This will give you the opportunity to get a significantly higher AC without having to invest a ton of points into dexterity and have to spend a spell slot every day, which you have so few of, and spend one of your limited numbers of spells known on mage armor. In addition, it has the slight benefit of its interlocking layers are so thin, it can actually be worn under layers of clothing or leather, so you could technically wear the Elven Chain underneath your regular clothes, sort of like Frodo in Lord of the Rings with the mithril underneath, and no one would know you're wearing it. So you can look outwardly as if you're not wearing any armor, although those pauldrons they have on the shoulders don't really show me how you're going to wear that underclothes without them being noticed, but I don't know. But anyway, I like it better than using mage armor and let you take one of your limited sorcerer spell slots or spells known and put it somewhere else. Number 9. So on the flip side of what we just talked about, number 9 is Bracers of Defense. If you choose to not go the Elven Chain route, or perhaps you can't seem to find them, you can take this rare attunement magic item from the basic rule set and get these, which is if you're not wearing armor or using a shield, it gives you a +2 bonus to AC. Again, you may not want to go this route. You may be able to get by with just mage armor and the occasional casting of the shield spell, which is great, but if you want a more static armor class that doesn't involve you using spell slots, or again, taking spells known away from your limited list, Bracers of Defense is going to give you a solid +2 AC, and again, more often than not, unless you do what I had just said, you're not going to have any armor or shields. Number 8. Number 8 is the Helm of Teleportation. This attunement magic item from the base rule set has 3 charges, and it lets you expend 1 charge as an action to cast the teleport spell from it. It regains 1d3 charges daily at dawn. So, there's no benefit of using all 3 charges. So if you need to teleport multiple times in a day, this will allow you to teleport. I think teleport allows you and up to 8 willing creatures. So that's going to let you and your party typically get out wherever you need to go, get where you want to go, get where you are, and get back to where you were from, whatever the case may be. I also feel like as a sorcerer, and this obviously isn't always the case, there are caveats and outliers in every data set, but more often than not as the sorcerer, you are going to be the blaster, the AoE, the damage dealer. It's just the way meta magic typically kind of works, and the way a lot of the subclasses are. They're sort of, not all, but sort of oriented towards you doing damage of some kind. And this particular item is going to let you get some utility so you can do some other things, and where you potentially may not be using a 7th level spell slot to spend on, or 7th level spells known to spend on teleport, because again, you get a very limited list overall. And 7th level and higher, you're going to have very specific key choices you need to make on what spells you want. So this is going to alleviate that decision by giving you a magic item that's going to let you do it up to 3 times per day. And then again, no downside to using all 3. You'll get at least 1 back the next day at dawn. Number 7. So I struggled with putting number 7 on this list, which is the Blast Scepter. This attunement, very rare magic item, is found in Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage. And the reason I struggled to do that is because theoretically the Blast Scepter is one-of-a-kind item found in Dungeon of the Mad Mage. It obviously doesn't have to be the case, and if you're not playing in that and you're just looking through a list of very rare magic items on the DM's Guild, it's there. But basically, the reason I chose this is, as a sorcerer, as I've stated thus far, you're going to have limited options for spells. So anything that you can get that's going to give you the benefits of other spells or give you spells for free or additional uses of spells is going to be something you're going to want to have. So first of all, it can be used as an arcane focus, which is great. And then whenever you're attuned to it, you gain resistance to fire and lightning damage, which is awesome. It's one item giving you 2 very common damage types resisted. And as an action, you can cast Thunder Wave at 4th level, which is, what is that, 5d8? Thunder Wave is first level is 2d8, then 3d8, 4d8, 5d8, 6d8, if my math is correct. A d8 for each slot of 2nd level or above. And it's going to be DC 16. So the DC is set, which is not the best thing because eventually you'll outclass it with your own spell save DC. But the important part is it's without expending a spell slot. So every turn you could use your action to cast Thunder Wave at 4th level without expending a spell slot. And Thunder Wave, while it has a little bit of a detriment of the thunderous boom, that's a 300-foot radius that people will know it's happening. If you can do this at 4th level, doing significant damage, again, thunder damage, not heavily resisted by a lot of things, and it's free. So 2 resistances, it works as a focus, and it gives you a free 4th level Thunder Wave as often as you want to. Seems like a no-brainer. The only reason it's so low on the list is the kind of it being one-of-a-kind sort of thing. Number 6. Number 6 is the Cloak of Arachnida. This very rare attunement magic item from the basic rules of the DMG. I put this one on here because it's going to give you a couple of good options and replicate some spell effects and things that you wouldn't have to spend spell slots on. So first of all, resistance to poison damage. If you happen to somehow get this and the Blast Scepter, that would be resistance to fire, lightning, and poison. Realistically, you're probably not, but you never know. It's going to give you a climbing speed equal to your walking speed and let you move up, down, and across vertical surfaces and upside down along ceilings while leaving your hands free. So this is, for all intents and purposes, giving you the effects of the Spider Climb spell, but non-concentration and forever, as long as you have this cloak on. So that's going to eliminate the ability or the need to want to cast Spider Climb or spend a spell known on that. You can't be caught in any webs of any sort and can move through webs as if they were difficult terrain. This is beneficial if you're going to be in the Underdark or fighting a lot of spiders or driders or not driders, but spiders and things of that nature. And then it also lets you, as an action, cast the web spell. The DC is only 13, but it fills twice the normal area, which a web spell typically fills an area, a 20-foot cube. So that's going to be a 40-foot cube web spell. So even if you're not really doing it to stick people up as they currently are, you could use this to sort of block a retreat or block your retreat or block an enemy's exit by throwing it behind them. And once this is used, it can't be used again until the next dawn. So it's giving you Spider Climb for free. It's going to give you resistance to poison damage. It's going to let you move through webs, even your own web spell, which is double the size of a normal web spell. And it gives you 1 web for free. So again, the theme of giving you more spells to let you do more things without having to choose, spend a limited number of spells known on it. Number 5. So number 5 are the spell gems. I feel like a lot of people probably don't even know this item exists because this varying attunement slot magic item was founded only out of the Abyss. So if you didn't play that campaign, you probably would have no concept that these items exist, and you're probably going to want to take a look into it. They're useful pretty much for any single spellcaster out there, but I reserve them more for the later, more arcane casters like your Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard. Again, any caster can make use of this. So what are these items? They vary from cantrip all the way up to 8th, 9th, 7th, 8th, 9th level spells. So obviously, we're not going to be talking about any legendary magic items here. That's part of what we talked about at the beginning. But if you look at these, they come in different gemstones, and that determines the rarity, right? So a cantrip is obsidian, uncommon rarity, and you can see the save DC and the attack bonus changes with these, right? So if you're using a very rare one for a 5th level spell for Jade, the save DC is 17 and the attack bonus is +9. So why are these so useful? Well, first of all, when you find it, there's a spell inside the gem. You can cast the spell from within the gem as an action, and that's the biggest part of this. If you know the spell or it's on your class's spell list. Doing so doesn't require any components and doesn't require attunement. That's just if you have it. The spell then disappears from the gem. If the spell is of higher level than you can normally cast, you can make an ability check using your spellcasting ability modifier to determine whether you cast it successfully. The DC equals 10 plus the spell's level. This is similarly to casting a scroll of a higher level than you could currently use. On a failed check, the spell disappears from the gem with no other effect. Each spell gem has a maximum level for the spell it can store. The spell level determines the gem's rarity and the stored spell's saving throw DC and attack bonus as in the spell gem table. But here's the important part. You can imbue the gem with a spell if you're attuned to it and it's empty. So again, you become aware of the spell when you learn its properties. While holding it, you could cast it as an action without requiring components or attunement as long as you just have it. But if you're attuned to it, then you can use it to store another spell. To store a spell in it, you cast the spell while holding the gem. The spell is stored in the gem instead of having any effect. So whatever you were casting is now stored in. But here's the kicker. Casting the spell must require either one action or 1 minute or longer, and the spell's level must be no higher than the gem's maximum, right? So if you have a 4th level spell gem, the maximum it can hold within it is a 4th level spell. So you could cast a first level spell at 4th level. You could cast a 2nd level spell, a 3rd level spell, or a 4th, however you want to do it. It can only store one spell. But if the spell belongs to the school, this is another little benefit. If the spell belongs to the school of abjuration and requires material components that are consumed, you must provide them, but they can be half worth as much as normal. So like if it costs a item, worth 100 gold and it's an abjuration spell, it only costs 50 gold, the magic or the components. But the benefit of that, if you missed it, was whenever you cast a spell from a spell gem, you can cast it as an action. But the spell that's being cast into it can either be one action or 1 minute or longer. So if there's a really good spell that you like that takes 10 minutes to cast, takes an hour to cast, takes a day to cast, whatever the case may be, and you want to cast it as one action, you can do that with the spell gem. For example, in one of the campaigns I played in, we had someone who had Find Steed. Find Steed is a great spell, but it takes 10 minutes to cast. If you take the 10 minutes and cast Find Steed into a spell gem, Find Steed now becomes one action to cast. Let's say, again, these are examples that don't really fit for a sorcerer, but you get my point. If you have a sorcerer spell that casts some long ritual spell that is a 10-minute spell, a bonus action spell, let's say, that you want to cast as an action. Or no, sorry, it has to be an action or longer. But basically, you can get around anything that's longer than one action casting time and turn it into an action by using this spell. Let's say you're a Divine Soul Sorcerer and you want to cast Prayer of Healing. Again, a 10-minute casting time spell. You could turn that into a one-action casting time spell. There are an unlimited number of ways you can use this by taking spells that you would typically not bring because it's not, it's going to take too long to cast and you're not going to want to use it. Now you can, as long as you have this. And it says here just a little bit of flavor text. Deep Gnomes created these magic gemstones and keep the creation process a secret. Again, the Deep Gnome piece is why it's Out of the Abyss only, but obviously that doesn't have to be the case in your campaign, and you could obviously try to get one of these if your DM will allow it. Number 4. Number 4 is the Robe of Stars. This very rare attunement magic item is found in the basic rules or the DMG. So first of all, it looks really cool. Let me look at the picture there. But it gives you a +1 bonus to saving throws while you're wearing it. So that's just a nice benefit to have. But what's also nice is there are 6 stars. You can see those red dots on around the shoulders there. While you can use an action to pluck one of those stars off and then use it to cast Magic Missile at 5th level, which is great because you're wanting to save your spells known for things that specifically this is going to give you access to potentially 6 5th level Magic Missiles a day that you can use for free. Daily at dusk, 1d6 removed stars reappear on the robe. It's at dusk. So again, if it's during your adventuring day, you may feel more liberal to blow these magic missiles early on, because at that, when you go to rest for the evening, you're going to get 1d6 of them back. So not only do you get the 6 potentially 5th level magic missiles, the +1 to saving throws, but while you wear the robe, you can use an action to enter the astral plane along with everything you are wearing and carrying. You remain there until you use an action to return the plane to the plane you are on. You reappear in the last place you occupied, or if the space is occupied, the nearest unoccupied space. So that's also a nice get out of jail free card. If you're worried combat's going south, you can shift to the astral plane, wait it out a little bit, and shift back. So there's a lot of benefits for one very rare attunement magic item. Number 3. Number 3 is the Ring of Spell Storing. This ends up on every spellcaster list because it's so useful. Rare, attunement magic item, basic rules are the DMG. You can store up to 5 levels worth of spells in this, and it doesn't have to necessarily be you casting them. Again, you're a sorcerer. If you take, say, shield, 5 shield spells stored in this ring is a great thing to have. Or 5 mage armors if you don't want to cast mage armor every single day, or 5 absorb elements. I'm only talking about first level spells here, but those are very useful spells to have all the time. And to be able to blow through 5 shield spells in a combat without having to tap into your existing spells is great. It's also potentially spells you could put in there if you get the ring early on, and then spells you may have transitioned out when you leveled up to pick a different spell, so you don't have them anymore. But again, you could also have the cleric or the paladin, the bard, whoever, the healer, put healing spells in the ring. It uses their spell save DCs and all that stuff, but now you can cast them. And I guess in theory, you might be able to, I think you can alter those spells that you're casting via your meta magic. So you could potentially twin spell the cleric's Cure Wounds or make it a distance spell. It just has a lot of opportunities to use it, and there's no spellcaster that's not going to want to have a Ring of Spell Storing. Number 2. So for number 2, I struggled pretty hard about not making this number 1, but it's one I always rely on. If you are a spellcaster, specifically a sorcerer or a wizard, and you can get access to the Staff of Defense, get it. By all means, you will not be disappointed. This rare attunement magic item is another interesting one. It's found in Lost Mines of Phandelver and nowhere else. First of all, while you hold the staff, it gives you a +1 bonus to AC. So right off the bat, you're going to have whatever your AC is from your dexterity, maybe mage armor, maybe Elven Chain, or bracers of defense. But this, just holding it first of all, is going to give you a +1 bonus to AC. And then the benefit that makes it so good is it has 10 charges, which are used to fuel the spells within it. While you have it in your hand, you can use an action to cast one of the spells from the staff. And this is why a lot of people don't realize why it's specific. If the spell is on your class's spell list. Mage armor for 1 charge or shield for 2 charges. No components are required. Gets a d6 plus 4 charges back at dawn. If you spend the last one, roll a d20. If you roll a 1, it is destroyed. But here's the thing. If you have mage armor or shield on your spell list, they don't have to be on your spell's known list. They just have to be on the list. So you could potentially now have this staff with your dexterity bonus and your +1 AC from having it, and then use 1 charge a day to cast a mage armor on yourself. So you have mage armor for free without expending a spell's known slot or a spell slot. And then you have potentially additional uses of shield for 2 charges each that you can use throughout the day to rectify, potentially getting hit, tanking damage, or avoiding an attack altogether without having to tap into your spells at all. And technically, it doesn't even need to be on your spell's known list. Again, a fantastic item. Any sorcerer or wizard would be lucky to get a Staff of Defense. Number 1. And lastly, I'm sure surprising no one, number 1 on this list is the Staff of Power. If we were doing legendary items, it probably would have been Robes of the Archmagi and Staff of the Magi, but we're not, so Staff of Power is on this list. This attunement, very rare magic item, is in the basic rules or the DMG, and what do you get for having it? It's attunement by a sorcerer, warlock, or wizard, so only certain classes can get access to it, and is a magic quarterstaff that can be wielded as a +2 quarterstaff, so dealing a +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls. And while you hold it, you have a +2 bonus to armor class, saving throws, and spell attack rolls. So there's nothing saying you can't kind of Gandalf, but instead of using a sword and a staff, use 2 staves. So have your Staff of Defense and your Staff of Power. Those two combined right there gives you a +3 to your AC, +2 to saving throws, and +2 to spell attack rolls, plus free shield and mage armor in the other one. And this staff has 20 charges. The staff regains 2d8 plus 4 charges daily at dawn. If you use the last charge, roll d20 on a 1. It retains its +2 bonus to attack and damages, but loses everything else. On a 20, it regains a 1d8 plus 2 charges, as opposed to what's it say? What's it getting back daily? 2d8 plus 4 charges daily expended at dawn. On a 20 of the roll, it gains 1d8 plus 2 charges, which is kind of dumb. So you roll a 1, it loses everything and gains, it just remains a +2, but on a 20, it only regains 1d8 plus 2 charges. Seems kind of silly, but okay. Power Strike. When you hit with a melee attack using the staff, you can expend a charge to deal an extra d6 force damage to the target. Probably not going to be getting too much into melee and hitting them with your staff, but you might, and that's a nice little benefit to have. But the real reason we took this is because, as we said, you're a sorcerer, you're going to want to not have to spend as many spells known on, save them and use them sparingly where you see fit. This is going to give you a lot of access to different spells, and that's the big the benefit for this, right? So while holding the staff, you can use an action to expend 1 or more charges to cast one of the following spells from it, using your spell save DC and attack bonus, which is the nice benefit because it's not going to be tied to a specific number. You also get a +2 bonus to spell attack rolls from the staff in and of itself, so that's going to apply to these. For 5 charges, Cone of Cold. For 5 charges, a 5th level version of Fireball. 6 charges, Globe of Invulnerability. 5 charges, Hold Monster. 2 charges, Levitate. 5 charges, a 5th level version of Lightning Bolt. Magic Missile for 1 charge. Ray of Enfeeblement for 1 charge, or Wall of Force for 5 charges. So right there, that's a large breadth of different spells you can get access to from the staff, plus all of the other passive bonuses that it's going to give you. It's really a no-brainer if you're able to get it. And then lastly, it does have Retributive Strike. You can use an action to break the staff over your knee or against a solid surface, performing a Retributive Strike. It's destroyed and releases its remaining magic in an explosion that expands to fill a 30-foot radius sphere. You have a 50% chance to instantly travel to a random plane of existence, avoiding the explosion, which is a benefit because if you see what it does. If you fail to do so, if you fail to avoid the effect, you take force damage equal to 16 times the number of charges left in the staff. Remember, maximum number of charges in the staff is 20. Every other creature in the area must make a DC 17 Dex saving throw. On a failed save, a creature takes an amount of damage based on how far away it is from the origin point, as shown in the following table. On a successful save, they take half damage. So again, 16 times the number of charges left in the staff, whatever that is. If they're 10 feet away or closer, they take 8 times the number of damage in the staff. So you take 16 times the number of charges. They're going to take whatever it is based on their proximity. So if they're within 10 feet or closer, they're going to take 8 times the number of charges left in the staff. 11 to 20 feet away, 6 times the number of charges left in the staff. Or 21 to 30 feet away, 4 times the number of charges left in the staff. Chances are Retributive Strike is not typically going to be something you're going to do because this is a super badass magic item, and you're probably going to want to save it till the end and keep it for the entirety of the campaign. But if you're in a really big tense moment and you really need to beat the bad guy or save your party or whatever the case may be, you may run in and break your staff and hope to take everybody out and also not kill yourself in the process. So anyway, guys, that was number 1, and that does it for my list of Sorcerer Magic items. I hope you guys enjoyed this list. Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. Sorry it ran a little bit long. The Spell Gem piece I took a long time to discuss. But again, like this video if you like these top 10 videos, and subscribe if you want to see more. We're continuing down the alphabetical order of the different classes. So next week will be Warlock, then we're going to do Wizard, and then since Artificer is out now, that will be the next one after that. And someone asked for Matt Mercer's Blood Hunter, so we'll do that, and then we'll get on to something new that's non-class related magic items for our top 10 Tuesdays. What's it going to be? I don't know. We've got a few weeks to find out. It's going to take us right around to the Christmas holiday, so we'll see how we do. But yeah, if you like this kind of stuff and you want to see me do things live on the internet, I do world building on Monday nights. I do campaigns on Tuesday nights, homebrew stuff, and an evil campaign rotating once a month. Wednesdays, I build characters, although I haven't been able to do that lately. And then every other Sunday, my friend Celeste runs a game here on the channel where she runs through different one-shots. I'll also be attending PAX Unplugged the first weekend in December. So I will be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if you're going to be there, come out and say hi. A Nerd Immersion meetup is in the works. I promise to make a video about the specifics of it if you want to stop by and say hi and come hang out and talk D&D. I hope to see you there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next week with the top 10 magic items for warlocks.